We're recording. All right, everybody, welcome back. Kings of Indy, episode 3. We know you've been hungry for more Kings of Indy content. So, for this episode, we're going to depart from our usual military World War II history. And we're going to talk about Mid90s, Jonah Hill's 2018 movie. Great film, awesome movie. We know you've been. When was the last episode? What was that? That was Finland. Was that
it was
February?
January, at least a month ago.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, we're bringing it back. Okay, we're gonna have some more episodes coming out. So again, I'm Avery.
I'm Hayden.
We're the Kings of Indy, and let's start talking about Mid90s. So, Hayden, how did you first come into contact with Mid90s?
Okay, warning, there are spoilers ahead. But I believe that I just saw an ad for it somewhere, I think on Instagram, because it wasn't like one of those massive blockbuster movies when it was first released. In fact, when I went to the theater to see it, because I had to see it in theater after watching the commercial for it, the ad for it, there weren't many people there. There were like 20 people there, and it wasn't a big deal. But I took my friend, and he had no interest in it. He had no real knowledge of it, actually. I'm sure I showed him the trailer 100 times because I was in love with the trailer and just expected great things. And I was definitely satisfied in that department, and he really enjoyed it too. So it was a really great experience. How about you?
So I remember when this trailer came out for it. I had never seen a trailer like it because it was using swear words, it was using fuck and shit and all this. I had never seen a trailer like that. I didn't even know you could do that in a trailer. So I was immediately drawn to it just off that. I was like, okay, this is a very provocative movie. So I was like, okay, I have to see this. And of course, it's directed by Jonah Hill, written and directed by Jonah Hill, and it's his directorial debut. And this movie holds a special place in my heart because this was the first rated R movie I ever saw alone in the theater.
Wow.
So I remember, do you remember Movie Pass? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not familiar.
So for, I don't know, a few years, this was years and years ago, there was a company called Movie Pass where basically you could I think it was $5-6 a month or something like that, and they would give you basically a credit card that said Movie Pass on it, and you could basically swipe at any theater that offered it, which was most Regal and AMC's, and you could basically watch unlimited movies as long as you just paid your $6 a month. Now that was before I came into it, so that was the summer of 2017, 2016, maybe. I got Movie Pass in the fall of 2018 when this movie came out. I think it came out October area, and it was offered for free on Movie Pass as long as I had my card. And but the thing was, I was 15 at the time, so obviously I'm not gonna. It's a rated R movie for good reason, and I knew my parents were not gonna want to see this movie with me, so I was like, "Hey, Mom and Dad, can I watch this movie? Can you take me to the theater? Can you do all this shit? I'll more than happy to go by myself. I do not care." And so I watched it by myself, and they didn't ID me. Even though I didn't look 18 whatsoever, or 17, I guess is the age for a rated R movie. But I watched the film. The film in the theater was 5, 6, 7 other people, which is the perfect atmosphere for watching a movie. I love when there's as little people as possible. And yeah, it blew me away, especially the score. The score is the most
that's what drew me into the trailer, actually. That sample, I think they got the sample from something that Kanye West was using, and I mean, obviously at the time Kanye West wasn't bad news, but and they got it from a song of his, that one where they jump the gap. If you listen to the trailer, you'll definitely know it. They play it for a large part of it, but it's when the drum is heating up. And that drew me to the trailer a lot too, along with the content.
But yeah, I immediately loved the movie, and I was like, okay, this is some good shit. So let's now that we've talked about our background with it, let's talk about why we like it.
Mm-hmm.
So you go ahead. What is good about Mid90s?
I think it's... So for people that are unaware of the movie Kids, Mid90s
I've never seen Kids. I need to see
I
Kids.
have never seen it either, but for a good reason, because I know what it's about. And I know of it.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For people who don't know, Kids was a movie that was made, I believe, in the late 90s.
I think 95, 96, I want to say.
Was it? Okay.
Probably.
And it was actually pretty much about what Mid90s is about, in like this large skate culture, but this took place more in like a New York City setting. I don't know if that was the exact city they used, but it was something to that effect. And, you know, these kids living this kind of like thuggish kind of ghetto life, but, you know, skating was the culture that brought everyone together.
Right.
Whether, you know, that be like friendships or, you know, fights. And that movie in particular was actually about the AIDS epidemic and how people were easily spreading it in like these I guess, groups, right? And Mid90s does not hit on AIDS whatsoever.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah, if you've seen it. But it did take a lot of inspiration from Kids, and you can see that you don't need to watch Kids. Personally, I don't recommend it, but if that sounds like it's up your alley, go ahead. Not for me. You have any interest in Kids?
I do, because I like the director.
Okay. Well,
the director apparently, so his name's Harmony Korine. It's
Uh-huh.
a little off topic here, but Harmony Korine was like, you can go on like YouTube and like, you know, look these up. They're awful. Like he appeared on Letterman for like 4 times,
Wow.
and then on the 5th time or whatever, David Letterman. I guess one of the other like people on Letterman that night was going to be Meryl Streep. And David Letterman said that he was like, before the show, he was going to go greet Harmony Korine, like say, hey, how you doing? And he found Harmony Korine going through Meryl Streep's purse. And so he kicked him off and he banned him for life, basically.
Really?
So it's that kind of shit that Harmony Korine's kind of known for. He's just kind of out there. Spring Breakers.
Oh, yeah.
They're mainly bad movies. Harmony Korine's not a good director.
Yeah.
But he does know how to write dialogue. And
that's what I think he gets. He gets like personal relationship. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like normal things that we experience, right?
And the same thing with this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where it is not only, and I was thinking about this when I was in the last scene, again, spoiler alert, when they're in the hospital, they kind of do like a Sunburn's mom like discovers that they're in the hospital waiting for her son, and they kind of do like a slow pan of like everyone sleeping like on the chairs, and I noticed like just the acne of like 4th grade.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is so real.
Yeah.
Like nobody does this. Like you usually have like a 25-year-old playing like a 17-year-old, or that might be a little too conservative. Who knows? A 30-year-old playing
and none of them were big actors except for Soljic.
No,
Not
at all.
Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah, but the dialogue in this is so real. You know, their constant use of slurs.
Authenticity. That's what it is.
It's so authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you don't need to be, obviously you and I weren't, you know, in Los Angeles in the 1990s, but like just how guys our age talk to each other is so authentic in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what you kind of get with Jonah Hill. It's just, when I first watched the movie, I had never seen like dialogue like that, where it was just so completely real to like what I had experienced myself, and I was like, man, this is filmmaking of a high order, as Roger Ebert would say, filmmaking of the highest order, because like it's just perfect, pitch perfect in every way. The dialogue, because the dialogue drives this movie completely, because it's built off of. The movie's built off the relationships of the entire group, right? So you need strong, good dialogue to kind of, you know, glue them together, and it absolutely does that.
I think the genius of the dialogue in this movie, just piggybacking off this kind of dialogue discussion, is there's so little of it, but what there is of it is incredible. You know what I'm saying? Like we were talking about how it's authentic, how it's real, right? And the reason I say that there's not as much is because if you watch the movie, there's a lot of scenes where there is dialogue going on, but it's not really like the focus of the scene, right? It's just something that's going on in the background.
Right.
But the dialogue that you are given is authentic, it's beautiful, and it always sends like some sort of powerful message that applies to the film and kind of what Jonah Hill is trying to, I guess, display to the audience. Does that make sense?
Yep.
At least that's my interpretation.
No, I completely agree. Another really strong aspect of this movie is the acting. Acting's pitch perfect. And again, this kind of goes into hand with like the dialogue where like it feels real because these guys are like actually the age they are portraying. I actually buy what they're saying and I buy what they're doing, you know? There's not this there's not like this I don't need to suspend my judgment or whatever to kind of put myself in the character's shoes. I definitely am the entire time. And that's because of... I mean, Sonny Soljic, wasn't he like 11 years old like when he filmed this movie? Like, it's insane how young he is. And yet he's like... Especially his face, which might seem like a little like odd. Like, why am I focusing on this 11-year-old's face? But like, so much of the movie, like the shots in this movie are just like him like reacting to shit. And like, you can just see the weight on his face.
He has a Miles Teller face. You know what I'm saying? Do you know who Miles Teller is?
I don't know if I would agree that Miles Teller is a...
Well, like, it's a very particular face, right? Like, it's one that you wouldn't see.
Miles Teller looks like a basic white guy.
But the scars on his face?
I don't know if I agree with that. Just because Heath Ledger has scars on his, or had scars on his face, and look what I got him. No, I mean, like, you get what I'm saying. Like, Sonny Soljic, like, he just carries so much weight in a lot of these scenes, and a lot of it's on, like, just the expression on his face. And it's not overdone. It's not too dramatic. Sonny Soljic is just, like, insane in this movie. Same thing with, what's his name? Lucas Hedges, who plays Sonny Soljic's brother. I don't even know his name. I had zero clue. Probably should. Given how much I read about this movie, but great performance. Great performance. And I'm not a huge fan of Lucas Hedges. He's fine in what's it called? Is it Manchester by the Sea that he's in? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
But he's okay. He's in a few Wes Anderson movies, which are kind of but this is a good performance. Ben is Back, I think he's in. That's a good film with Julia Roberts. Performances all around, pitch perfect. Yeah, do you have anything else you want to add to the performances?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The performances were really well done. I think that a actor or actress is only given so much with a script and like basic emotions, right? Because actually, when I was younger, I used to want to write screenplays, ironically. And, what they're given is very base, right? And, like, the rest is driven by the director and the actor or actress themselves. So I think that Sonny Soljic does a terrific job at driving forth the emotions that you want to feel or relate to or understand in him. Does that make sense?
Especially as young as he is.
Yeah.
And it's a very versatile performance. It's not black and white. You really get a sense of just how deep this character is, what he's going through, and obviously we see that with, the visuals as well, because they're constantly showing him get his ass beat by his brother. So we are always reminded of what his circumstances are, but still his performance is really what drives that home even further. That
scene where his brother, when Stevie, right, or Sunburn, tells his brother pretty much who he is.
Right.
That was, I love that scene. Because of the way his brother reacts, right? Like, his first instinct is to just beat the shit out of his...
Which he does.
His younger... Well, he does, but he stops himself quickly. Because he just breaks down.
I thought he had, got punched by him. That was my interpretation.
He punched him in the face, but then he pretty much let Stevie go, and he fell back, remember?
Oh,
and
I thought
just lifted his shirt.
My interpretation was that Stevie punched him back while he was punching him. That was my interpretation.
Oh, he might have gotten in a shot, but the point I'm trying to make is the breakdown. You know what I mean? That kind of ended the whole debacle.
Because he's such a fragile character. And we see that earlier in the movie when he's like, he accidentally bumps into fuck shit. And fuck shit's like, hey, like, what's your problem? Because he just keeps standing there. But he sees Stevie, like, behind him, like, at the table eating, and he knows he can't fucking do shit, but he also knows he has to be strong for his brother because he beats the shit out of him, and if he, sees him that he's actually a coward and a pussy, then he's not gonna, hold as much weight with his brother.
The word that describes him perfectly is facade. He has all this sports memorabilia, all these videotapes, right? The weights in his room, the nice clothes, the Jordan shoes, and everything, right? But inside it's
hollow.
like exactly. It's empty.
Yeah, Lucas Hedges is incredible in this movie. I do want to add, really like maybe an underrated aspect performance-wise of this movie is Ruben.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another one where, similar to Sonny Soljic, where a lot of the performance is just in his expression of his face. Ruben's another one, because we constantly are seeing, Stevie get like even more. He's pretty welcomed into the group of the guys, but like as the movie goes on, he's more welcomed in. Like they get more comfortable with him, and the camera kind of always pans to Ruben to kind of like just show his reaction to it because he's obviously extremely jealous, and he's super young. Clearly, again, he's portraying a character that's as old as he is in real life, right? They're not going up or down. But yeah, Ruben's performance is again like one of those characters where I'm like, man, this really sells the movie even harder for me. And the mom's a good one too, especially in the scene where she's in the car, or she's forcing Stevie into the skateboard shop. This is right after the party or whatever, and then. She says, "You guys are not gonna, be hanging out with my son anymore." And they go back to the car, and then Stevie's like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up." But like her face and just the weight she carries in this conversation is so evident, just mind blowing. Just great performances all.
I can't fully agree with the mom.
Really,
I respect that scene that you're talking about. She did a terrific job, but I think that was a shiny point in kind of a relatively mediocre performance.
I don't know, but
I think it has a lot to do with screen time too. We don't have much.
Okay.
We don't have much time to grow accustomed to her or her personality, right? But I think she serves more as a means to an end, right? Like a purpose, right? Like things aren't okay at home. The mom is sleeping around, can't really find a guy that she can settle with, right? So I think she serves more of a purpose to the plot itself rather than a solid role. But I do agree with you that scene in the car, it was terrific acting. I mean, the way that people, I guess, can morph their faces in certain scenes, right, that almost completely replicate how it would be in real life, like that is powerful acting.
No, I agree. Another thing I want to talk about is the visuals of this movie. Cinematography is gorgeous. I forget what the numbers the ratio is, but it's like it's not full widescreen. It's like kind of hemmed in into like this kind of a square. Yeah. Which obviously I think is reminiscent of video cameras in the 90s, obviously, but also I think it's just to create claustrophobia. Because we feel claustrophobic just as Stevie feels claustrophobic, just as his brother feels claustrophobic. His mother, everyone in this movie is feeling claustrophobic at their circumstances, who they're with, their financial situation, and the fact that the camera is always on somebody's face, like super up close and personal. I think really, adds to that even further. Like we're stuck in this circumstance with them. We're stuck in the middle of the 90s in Los Angeles in the hood. You know what I mean? Just really, really well done. And it's shot expertly. Just especially that scene. There's two scenes where they're in the suicide lane and like they're going down the street and we're just listening to them, listening to music as this movie's going, but we're also just watching them just glide down the street in the suicide lane in the middle of the street. And just the second instance of that scene is when I forget the black guy's name.
Ray.
When he kind of has his heart-to-heart, come-to-Jesus moment with Stevie. and he takes him out skating, and like just the lighting and just the setting is perfect, and it looks gorgeous, and it just really puts you in the. It really just creates an atmosphere that I think is just pitch perfect for the movie.
Mm-hmm. That's my favorite scene, actually.
Which one?
The one when Ray basically lists
like,
all
right.
of their problems, and
Right.
it's like, you wouldn't trade your shit for their shit.
Uh-huh.
I mean, almost word for word. And then, they go out riding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they deal with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of an escape, but it's more of a way to, move on, right? Keep moving forward, I guess.
Right.
Which I really admire, you know. Did you ever ride a skateboard?
I tried to. My sister got one like for Christmas, like I'd say 10, 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had that. This was back when I lived in Indiana for the first time, when I was like in middle school, elementary school. And we had like a little patio out back that was literally no bigger than like Habersky's office. Like it was pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like try to skateboard, but like honestly, it's kind of funny to think about because I'm skateboarding for God's sakes. But like I was too scared to fall down, so I just like became a complete pussy and just like chickened out every time. But no, I've always wanted to skateboard because it looks cool and it looks a lot of fun. But I would hate having to always constantly fall on my ass, and it's just I'll ride a bike. For God's sakes, I'll ride a bike or I'll drive a car. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
What about you?
I used to longboard.
Mm-hmm.
Longboarding is a lot easier because when you skateboard, what you get out is what you put in, like by a 1-to-1 ratio, if that makes sense, right? Like if you want to move forward, every inch of that is going to be done by you personally.
Right.
Whereas longboard, it's better for coasting, right? Mm-hmm. You push off a couple times and you're coasting. Mm-hmm. But I will say, when it comes to skateboarding or longboarding alike, the community, right, that's portrayed in these films, especially Mid90s, it's kind of like cigarette smokers. I don't know if anyone out there has smoked cigarettes, but if you walk up to a smoker on the street, excluded, yeah. If you walk up to a smoker on the street, right, and you say, "Hey, can I bum one?" 9 times out of 10, in fact, 9.9 times out of 10, they're going to hand you one, and you guys will chat for a second, and that'll be it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of like that.
I don't have the self-confidence to ask anybody for
right. No, I've only done it a couple times, but I've seen it more with my dad actually, or other people, right? But the point is that there's almost kind of like an understanding, like we're one and the same, and that's how like skateboarding or longboarding has always been, in my view, right? Mm-hmm. And it's brought out in these films, right? Like when me and a buddy went longboarding in Myrtle Beach, like. We instantly became best friends with other people with longboards or skateboards. It was just like a community thing. Mm-hmm. I don't do it anymore, but I just thought that was interesting.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because it's pretty quickly that when Stevie comes into the group, like he's just automatically accepted.
Exactly, yeah.
Which, I mean, part of that, I think, yes, he's young. They kind of recognize, like, hey, this kid's probably got a lot of issues at home. We'll welcome him in. But I think also, just the community aspect that they find that skateboarding is a way to, and I think Fuck Shit says this, like just liven up somebody's spirit.
Yeah.
And they kind of recognize that this is a great way to kind of do this all together with each other. But yeah, interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's like a religion in a way, brings people together, something that they can level with to each other. Not saying people pray to skateboards.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if you do, more power to you.
I really like what Jonah Hill brought to this movie. Jonah Hill, this might be a hot take. I don't know. I don't care. I think Jonah Hill has made banger after banger. So he made a movie. He made Mid90s. This was his directorial debut. So he made this in 2018. And then it's like just last... What was it? Shit, look this up. I forget the movie's name. It's a documentary about his psychiatrist. It's on Netflix. It's something with an S. Schultz? Stutz? I think it's Stutz. Or Stutz.
Yep.
Stutz? Yeah, this was another good movie that he directed. And it's a... Have you seen this movie?
Mm-mm.
It's really good. Jonah Hill is kind of emerging as this like really neat director, with a lot of good vision to the projects that he's bringing, and it's clearly the case with Mid90s. It's clearly the case with Stutz. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Jonah Hill brings next. I think he has a lot of potential as a director, as a writer. I would like to see him do another fictional story like Mid90s. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what Jonah Hill does next, because this guy, I mean, he has this reputation as being like the fat guy from Superbad and like, these terrible stoner comedies, but like, well, Superbad's not terrible, but you get what I mean. But Jonah Hill actually is like a really smart artist who knows what he's doing, who writes really well, brings a lot to the table, and Mid90s is evidence of that, because I think he said this on Fallon, like when he was kind of promoting the movie, when he was making his rounds, that for like a few years when he was trying to get this project off the ground, he was writing the script, like this was always somewhere, the characters in the place that he was writing in were always somewhere he could come back to, for some solace and for some what's the word I'm looking for?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. And Mid90s was his own story, and he kind of came back to Mid90s over and over again, and kept on pushing to make the story even better than he thought it could be. And I think that shows, because it's just expertly done. And I think that's really, that's the production team. Obviously, it's the actors, but I think honestly, it's mainly Jonah Hill. I think he just brought a lot to the project, a lot to the table, and very, very much looking forward to what he does next.
I'm enraged by how overlooked Mid90s is.
I don't know if I'd say it's overlooked. Like, it's definitely, you don't hear about it as much, especially since it came out, like, ever since 2017. A24 movies have been, like, on, like, just the complete rise. Mid90s is definitely a more overlooked A24 movie. Like, 2018 was also, like, Hereditary. That's a good horror movie. I'm trying to think. What are some other A24 movies? Jesus. 2019 is... what's it called? It's by Harmony Korine. What's it called? The Beach Bum? The Beach... It's with...
Oh, Matthew McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
I forget what it's
Beach
called.
Beach Bum, I think, yeah.
Where he plays like Moonshine or Moondog, whatever the character's name is.
Was it Moondust or something like that?
Something along those lines. But yeah, this one kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but I don't know...
that looked good. I wanted to see that.
What word did you use? Underrated? Is that what you said? Overlooked.
Overlooked. I was going to say underrated, but I didn't, because for all the critics that have seen it, they've rated it, I
think we often kind of say something's underrated if it's just not popular.
Right, like, but that's why I used overlooked.
Right.
Because I felt that was more
fair enough.
appropriate.
I could understand that. I could agree with that. I guess I was conflating the two myself. Yeah, this is definitely, like, you just don't hear it get talked about as much.
Yeah, I think it deserves more attention. I mean, it is an incredible film. I don't know about top films of all time list or any of that nonsense, but I think it is an incredible film.
I think, fuck, I just completely lost my train of thought.
Blanked?
You just completely blanked.
I have a question if you'd like.
Go ahead.
What did you dislike about the movie?
It's
It's easy to sing praises about a movie we love, but it's harder to look at it and say, what did we not like?
I think, and again, this might be a hot take, I think it could be a bit longer.
Yeah.
It's what, an hour and 20 minutes, thereabouts?
Something like that.
It's less than 90 minutes for sure.
Ironically.
So, yeah, right. I think maybe padding out, I think maybe giving a bit more backstory into
125.
125. I think giving a bit more backstory into Stevie's relationship with his mother. Not necessarily kind of fully explaining, his situation with, dad. We don't really know what happened with his dad. We don't really understand the full origin of his relationship with his brother. I'm A-okay with, not understanding, everything about his family. I think that's part of the fun about Mid90s. Excuse me, is that you're kind of trying to piece together some of these broken pieces.
That very first scene when he's thrown into the wall.
Yeah.
That's almost like what the viewer is experiencing.
Right, they're just
You're
kind of
thrown
tossed
into
in.
it. Yeah.
I completely agree.
Which is part of the beauty. like you were saying, yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe including a bit more, I don't want to say backstory, but just context, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
With his mother. Maybe, strong maybe. A bit more backstory into the guys like in the group. Mm-hmm. I know we certainly get a good amount of backstory when it comes to those guys when Ray is kind of talking with Stevie in that scene about, kind of listing off everyone's problems and their individual situations. That's probably enough for me. I don't think we need to be, because obviously they're not the main character, they're not Stevie, so we don't need to be, completely occupied. I think including too many stories and too many, what's the word I want? God, I just can't speak English today. I think including too many stories and just kind of going off the beaten path and kind of going away from Stevie, I think that just kind of distracts from Stevie's story. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the main criticism I would have is I would pad out the runtime just so I could get a bit more context into his relationship with his mother. And maybe a bit more about her, not necessarily his relationship with his mother, but just the mom in general.
Yeah.
What does she do for work? Why is she just kind of a very pleasant person? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What is her relationship even with Lucas Hedges, Stevie's brother? Because we don't really see a whole lot of that.
Yeah, she's not really with reality, in a way.
It's true.
But that's kind of what I was saying earlier, she's not given... She's more of a means to an end. Uh-huh. But no, you make a good point, if we knew more about her or why she was the way that she was. And his older brother talks about it at one point, but doesn't go, I guess...
Yeah, he kind of talks about, the fucking noises that he would hear, clearly traumatizing, obviously.
Yeah.
But maybe just, that's the thing, maybe focus on it from Sonny's... not Sonny, what's his name? Stevie's perspective. I don't know. Maybe that might do it for me. I have no idea. But I think that could be a potential storyline that would give it a bit more spice, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Sonny, Stevie, Sunburn, that's probably your confusion.
Right. 3 S's.
Yeah. Soldic, too, if you had that.
Oh, yeah. Sonny D.
Yeah. I do like it. I will say, for those of you who have seen the movie or are interested in seeing the movie, it's not your run-of-the-mill happy ending, sad ending. It's more of a section into the mid-90s, if that makes sense. And while I could easily criticize that because I'm well, it's the ending, right? We all watch things hoping for the end, right? Especially something that we like, we want to see it through. So I could criticize that, but at the same time, I kind of love that, I kind of love that there's no defined ending, mm-hmm. right? These guys are still his friends. They're still there for him, Life will go on. He's okay, right? His arm's messed up.
It kind of feels abrupt, but mm-hmm. at the same time, there is a lot of resolution.
Yeah.
I don't know how I, can put those two things together at once, because that kind of seems like they contradict each other, but it's true. Mm-hmm. There is resolution to it, especially with his brother. I wouldn't say especially, but there's kind of some resolution. I don't know, just giving him a Sunny D, I don't think is, retribution for, all the shit that you've done. But, I don't know. I would like to see, that's another thing I would have liked to see is, a bit more, I don't want to say the two brothers making up, but I don't know, just something more that doesn't leave a big question mark. Because I can promise you, kind of seems like Lucas Hedges, who's a fucking psychopath in this movie, mm-hmm. is probably going to go back to beating his fucking brother as soon as the cameras stop rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't feel like the character's really changed all that much. Yeah, again, just giving your brother a Sunny D after he's, awoken from a coma or something. That's not enough for me. I'm going to need to see a bit more change, just a bit more change. And I think that's probably something that Jonah Hill could have, touched on a bit more.
Yeah. The other thing, well, the main thing that I didn't like, the scene with the older girl.
Yeah.
I really don't want to criticize this movie because, like I said, it's like we both said, we sung its praises.
There's nothing wrong with criticizing a movie you like.
Right. It is a fantastic movie, but I just cannot get over that scene because
there are a lot of question marks.
Reverse the roles.
Yeah.
You know, reverse the roles, and you'll see what I mean. Like, if there was an older guy preying on a younger girl, like, it just doesn't look right any way that you look at it, you know? And every time I watch that scene, I get uncomfortable because
she's not stupid. Like, she clearly knows he's a lot younger than she is, and she's preying upon him, basically. Yeah. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. And she's doing that.
And for me, too, is it looked really forced in a way. You know, like, you understand, like, okay, yeah, she thinks he's cute. That's great. You know, but
good for him.
Right. Good for him. But then cute leads to, have you ever done it with a girl? Do you want to do it with me? You know, and then it just kind of becomes weird.
Yeah. Are you nervous? And, like, all these kind of things. Like, clearly pushing him to do something that I don't know if he wants to, because he's clearly uncomfortable, but, like...
Yeah. And then, like...
I don't know how to describe it.
It was a lot of things. I think it was far-fetched. It was relatively gross in the fact that there was a clear age difference. Mm-hmm. And then it didn't seem real to me. I think it's the least. I think it's my least favorite part of the film.
I actually disagree with that. I feel like it felt real, honestly.
Really?
I think in both of, at least in both of their performances, I don't know the other girl's name. She's in a movie, a fantastic film. Absolute dropping film. It's called Waves from 2019. I think it's A24 as well. One of the best movies I've ever seen.
Really?
Hands fucking down. And she's one of the main characters in the movie Waves. And it's an incredible performance in Waves. And I think it's a good performance in this. I think both of them bring enough realism, uncomfortability to the scene, and I feel like it really honestly makes it feel real. It's so uncomfortable it feels real, if that makes sense.
That's true, but is that the intention, or is it because of the situation?
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
I agree with you. Like, if you feel something from a movie, it's doing its job.
Right.
But for this particular situation, I think it's hard to decipher if...
That's true.
You know.
I'll grant you that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something I can't wrap my head around it. As for the viewers or you, if they can wrap their head around it, I mean, no disrespect, more power to you. It's just something that me personally, I cannot grasp.
Right.
You know, it just, I don't know. It kind of felt like a way that the plot had to go. You know, Stevie got in with the guys. You know, he was learning to skate. He did his first ollie. And now they're all talking about girls, right? And they go to the party, and the main character conveniently meets this girl who conveniently finds
she's completely into place. It
Yeah,
just falls right in.
When movies or stories in general, because I love reading, right? Give you a set of things that give you a set of things that are convenient and convenient and convenient, right? Like, oh, that's convenient they met there. Oh, it's convenient they met again over in Europe. You know, or, oh, it's convenient again, they met in Africa, right? And like these back-to-back conveniences almost kind of become, well, I mean, yeah, fate, I believe in fate, sure, or you don't, right? But this is all very too coincidental, you know?
Interesting. I see your point, but I just cannot agree with that. I honestly feel like the scene feels real. I don't really feel like it feels all that convenient, honestly.
No, the scene itself, I can see what you're saying, but I mean the fact that, like, that happened at this party.
Well, I mean, yeah, you gotta have some low points, obviously, in your story. Like, I'm not saying, like, just completely, like, you know, hospital, like he's dead, like, flatline kind of thing, but, like, you know.
Well, I was saying it's convenient as a high point, you know, because he gets to do things with, or, you know, which obviously got him in better with the guys, you know, made him...
Go ahead. Finish.
No, go ahead.
No, this is a completely separate thing. Please finish.
Oh, I thought it was a convenient good thing that happened to him.
Yeah, so this is another thing, and I just thought about this. I'm a little iffy on what I think of fuck shit, because fuck shit is, in the beginning of the movie, and again, this might be something I would criticize Jonah Hill for not providing enough resolution. Beginning of the movie, most of the movie, fuck shit's fine, he's funny, He's a valuable member to the group, to the cast.
Comedic relief.
Like, yeah, exactly. And then he, like, as the movie progresses, and Ray kind of talks about how he just kind of wants to party and all that stuff. And then he, like, drives the car at the end of the movie. Again, spoiler alert. And then because he's drunk, he wrecks the car. Knowing, and I don't know if I buy Ray getting into the car with fuck shit, knowing full well that he's not capable of driving. I could maybe buy Ray getting in the car, but I do not buy Ray allowing Sonny and Ruben to get in the car, because he already is looking out for them. When they take the bus and he gives them, that pill, Ray is like, hey, why are you giving, these kids that fucking drug? Like,
he questions it, but on the contrary, he doesn't do anything about it.
True. But he does recognize that they are okay, they're, I think fuck shit says, like, they're grown-ass adults or something along those lines.
They're their own
like,
people.
Yeah. I think that's different than getting in a car with a drunk driver. I think it's different. And I don't know if I buy Ray's character when he just kind of willy-nilly lets Sonny and Ruben get in the car, because they're way younger than they are. They clearly don't understand probably the full... what the full consequences of getting in that car with him might entail. Mm-hmm. And then fuck shit, like, obviously wrecks the car, puts Stevie in I think I've been calling him Sonny because he's Sonny Soljig, but they put Stevie in the hospital. And then, like, we just kind of, like, we don't get any resolution from fuck shit. Like, that was a terrible thing fuck shit did. Awful.
Mm-hmm.
A terrible thing Ray did as well. Awful.
Yeah.
There's no resolution to that.
He should be in jail.
He should.
Realistically.
Yeah.
I was rewatching it. I was like, man, why is he not in jail?
And there doesn't seem to be that much... if fuck shit had been, as soon as, all the guys kind of walked into the room at the end of the movie, and when they were kind of gathered around Stevie, they're kind of talking. Maybe if, fuck shit had been like, hey, man, I fucked up. Sorry. Never again. But he doesn't. They don't do that. There's no resolution to it. So I'm just kind of like, okay, fuck shit's a terrible person. Like... awful.
I think that's his character, though.
True, but how can I identify with him if I'm just always thinking he's an asshole?
He'll party until he's dead. Until he drops, and I think that's, like, kind of who he was. But, like, I agree with you. Like, it is impossible to relate with him on that factor. But I think he's the opposite of what Jonah Hill wants us to relate to. Because I think Ray and fuck shit are they're best friends, but there's almost a black and white difference, right? Fuck shit.
Unintended.
Yeah. Fuck shit comes from, wealth, right? He has opportunities in life, and he just wants to squander them. And
well, he comes from wealth compared to the other guys.
Yeah, right. And he just wants to squander it and party for the rest of his life and not try hard at anything. Whereas Ray, on the other end, wants to do the exact opposite. He wants to try hard.
He wants
to succeed. Yeah, he wants to get out of that life. But I think they do a good job at portraying fuck shit as a real person.
I agree.
Because the fact of the matter is, a lot of people, they're given all these opportunities in their lives, and what they do instead is say, well, I've always got that safety net. I want to just... I'd rather just, squander it and party for the rest of my life. And if I ever need a come to Jesus moment, whenever that may be, I can just fall back on that safety net.
Yeah, but still, like, I just would have preferred to have a bit more resolution with it. To kind of... because I don't know what I think of fuck shit. That's the thing. Like, it'd be different if I knew in the end what I think of him. But, like, yeah, he's kind of an asshole, but he's also kind of a good guy. Like, and he makes this poor decision, but there's no consequence to it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's no consequences for his character, for his own fuck shit character to live with. And I don't know. I just wish there had been a bit more resolve to that, if that makes sense.
I think that Jonah Hill does an amazing job at showing us that people aren't face value exactly, what you're told. Like, he was a tall man and he was a good person.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he was a tall guy and he was a good person, That's not much of a character. That's not real. Mm-hmm. And fuck shit is very real.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So. But anyways, fantastic film.
Yes. I mean, we have our criticisms of it, obviously, but for the
Who
most part, it's a really great movie. Glad I own the Blu-ray, the French Blu-ray. It's a 95. Yeah, this is a very, very good. I guess I'd call it coming of age movie. Yeah, just all around, really, really great stuff. Performances are great. Writing's awesome. Trailer's awesome. Just watch the trailer. It's a barrel of laughs.
If that doesn't buy you,
right. And to be fair, if the trailer doesn't buy you, you can still watch the movie because it's not that long. You're not going to be losing that much time. It's only 80 minutes. So, yeah, this is a really, really good movie. I mean, obviously my biggest gripes with it are that there's not enough resolution and maybe backstory to a few of the characters. But apart from that, it's just a really good movie. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah. Full meal.
It is. You feel refreshed after you finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Any closing thoughts on Mid90s apart from that?
Please check it out if you haven't. I 100% recommend. And even if you don't like it, guess what? You don't like it.
Right.
At least you gave it a chance.
What would you rate it out of 10?
9.5.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Wow. I was just going to give it an 8.
That's easy.
Well, but yeah, all around great stuff. I mean, the obvious question now is, what do we do next? What film?
I think there's a lot of good ones out there.
Or?
I feel like Inception has been too talked about.
I hate Inception.
Yeah, but
terrible.
The reason I brought it up though is because of our differing opinions.
Right, but please don't make me rewatch that. It's just such a slog, dude. We might do an episode with David, because I know David wants to get on the podcast, talk about some conspiracy theories, because David's a kind of a crackpot. Love him. Yeah. He's a crackpot. Mm-hmm. And he's also really into Rome.
Oh.
He loves Rome.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
So we might do, for those of you listening, we might do an episode on the movie. We might do an episode with my buddy David, who's a crackpot. Love him, but he's into Rome.
We'll definitely do more movies.
But yeah, thank you guys again for listening. It's been a while. Episode 3, Kings of Indy. We have not gone away. We know you guys are hungry for content. We know this is the case. Trust me, we are just as hungry as you are for this Kings of Indy content.
But life gets in the way.
It does, for better or for worse. So, yeah. Thank you guys for listening.
Appreciate you.
Watch Mid90s. Good film. And, we'll see you probably in 2 months from now during our next episode.
Hopefully sooner.
Yeah.